One of the townhouses on my row got shot up. Go f***ing figure. By December, my relationship was over. I was still on sick leave. Still had no diagnosis. I was bleeding for a whole month, like literally 4 weeks straight. Abnormal cell growth in your cervix. This wave of heat just rises through me. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Sylvia Raj here, also known now as Ali L. It's been such a long time and I wanted to start off with a nice little life update because it has been 2 years and a lot has gone down. Now, but like honestly, I've been through a lot of different things and I just feel like that's probably the best way to start. But it's also kind of like a little story time, so I feel like it's like interesting too at the same time. Let's just start off by saying thank you to all of my subscribers that stayed and stuck around with me. You know, my day ones, how you doing? What's good? And to all my new subscribers, because I've had probably over 1,200 people subscribe to me. I just want to say, hey guys, welcome to my channel. Now you're gonna see the consistent me. I don't know what you subscribed to before, but here I am. I'm back, better than ever. Last time I posted on here was March 2017. Yo, we got so much to talk about. It's not even funny. Like it's crazy. Let's just get right into it. Since the last time I posted on here, a lot has been going on, but the first thing that changed with me was literally just like mental health. Since then, I have just literally just been letting go of things that I like to do. Literally just one by one, I was just letting them go. By the time we hit March 2018, I was still feeling the same exact way. You know, I had been living with my ex at the time, and you know, I had just started realizing I was putting so much energy into their work and you know what they wanted to do, which is not a bad thing, but it is bad when you stop focusing on yourself. And he did try and help me, and while that was great, there were just deeper rooted issues within myself that it just wasn't enough because there were too many things that I wasn't addressing within myself. Lack of confidence. Physically, I was feeling like I was just unhappy in all aspects of life. I've been teaching at a high school, so that's actually why I moved to Maryland in the first place. I moved to Maryland in 2014 and I've been teaching at the same high school since. So one of the main changes that I was going through was finding myself. I was unhappy in my relationship with my living arrangement and situation. It's not really too much to really say about other than you're responsible for your own happiness. You know what I'm saying? When you're in a relationship with someone, you gotta make you happy and they gotta make themselves happy so that you guys could come together and be happy. They're not responsible for my happiness and vice versa. So I just wasn't happy with it myself, and it was very hard to get out of it because then I started going through a lot of different health issues. I'm not gonna make this focus too much on my ex or anything, but there are some things that kind of set some things into play. Basically, they had made a decision that they want to follow their dreams. They want to be a full-time creator. It wasn't really a full discussion that we had. We had the discussion of it being a possibility, but not in terms of finances. We didn't actually have that conversation. I was the main person handling the finances. Not gonna get too much into that. Let's fast forward to August 2018 is when I had my first seizure without even realizing it was a seizure. I was out with my girlfriend, so we're just sitting casually at the bar of a restaurant. It's like 1 in the morning maybe, and I just randomly started feeling super hot, just a wave of heat in my soul, and I just felt lightheaded. Even though we were sitting down, I felt like I needed to lay down. Sitting down just didn't feel like enough. Basically, you know, I ended up being fine, and then, you know, I kind of just went home from there, and nothing else really happened from that. School started after Labor Day, so basically September, boom, bam, we're in there. Finances were getting very difficult. My partner hadn't found another job to replace the one he had left. So one thing I decided to do was drive Lyft or Uber. I started off with Lyft. Driving Lyft went great. Long story short, I drove myself into the ground. I would work from, let's say, 7:30 to 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I would get home, I would change, eat something real quick, and then I would drive from 4:30 to 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, sometimes midnight. It just depended on the day. It was not sustainable. Tried it anyway because, you know, I was just trying to make ends meet, make more money, yada yada yada. Another issue I was having was with my school. So there was a lot of mold in my school. Over the summer, there was a leak in the auditorium that basically had all the auditorium curtains wet, mold spread. You know how that goes, and you know how heavy and how tall auditorium curtains are. So just imagine all the mold when school started, for when it was just teachers only, because there's a teacher only week. When that happened, a lot of us ground floor teachers and first floor teachers. Some of them wore masks. We were all basically complaining about the air quality of the school. It was absolutely terrible. The county needed to do something about it and they weren't moving fast enough. So fast forward again, mid-October, I had started feeling sick. I taught TV production, so I had a regular classroom and a TV studio. The regular classroom smelled, but it wasn't like super bad, but the TV studio was disgusting. It was just as bad as the auditorium was. It was a way more closed off area, not much ventilation through it. Honestly, I feel like it was way worse than the auditorium because of how it's just no circulation. It's a 2-level TV studio. When you would walk into it, you would see mold on the doors, like that fuzzy green, like just white kind of thing. On the chairs, you would see it on everything. There were times where I had to go in there. Obviously, I tried to avoid it, but I had to go in there to get stuff and to try and move stuff out of there until they fixed it, because I did make a report, but like I said, they are moving slow. So I say that because I get sick and I'm assuming it's because of the mold, right? So at first I went to urgent care and I told them what I really wanted, which was like to be tested for mold exposure or like a mold allergy. I can't remember what specifically it was, but it was something I needed on paper. So they're just like, you know, if you're worried about mold, you should probably just go to an ER. So I went to the ER because at that point my stomach had been cramping. It was just like weird stuff that I was going through, and basically they couldn't do nothing for me. What I did was I had taken a whole week off from work, if I'm not mistaken, because I was just feeling like, if you know how bad it feels to have the flu, like it felt like that. At some point of time, I went to the ER again. I was in the supermarket with my ex, so we're on the line putting our stuff on the conveyor belt. He had went back to get something. At that point, I hadn't eaten yet because, you know, we were there early in the morning trying to get stuff to like eat or whatever. And I was starting to feel super weak, probably going for like 1 minute tops. In that time frame, I started feeling terrible. And I'm kind of like mumbling to the cashier. And I'm kind of just like, ooh, like, can I start drinking this Gatorade? Because we had put Gatorade on the thing. I don't even think she heard me, but I, you know, opened one up or whatever because I started feeling like weak. All of a sudden I just felt like I needed something, anything, like ASAP. Basically by the time he comes back, you know, he's paying, and I kind of just like started like going off to the side. I'm just like, yo, like, and I'm telling him I don't feel well. Honestly, I might be mixing this up. Like, this might not have been the first time I went to the ER for feeling weak, but this is one of the times. I can't remember the order, but this is one of the times. I can't remember if he had already been accustomed to it yet, like by it happening one other time or not. I just can't remember. As he's bringing the cart to the side, because it's Aldi's, so you know you have to bag your own stuff, box your own stuff, whatever the case. So as we bring it to the side, I was like, yo, I feel weak. Like, I'm like, yo, no, we gotta go, and I'm kind of just like, you know, when you just hold on to yourself. Eventually I was just like, yo, I can't do it. I was trying to sit on the little ledge that they had. He's just like, don't worry, like, we're almost at the car, da da da. He was like, do you want to sit in the car? I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. Honestly, I don't remember much. I didn't faint, but I literally just started sitting myself down, and I remember the cash register person was just like, oh, is she okay? Is she okay? I literally laid myself down to the point where my face was on the floor. And obviously floors are disgusting and dirty, but clearly in that moment, that didn't matter to me. Sitting on the floor wasn't enough. I need to just lay on the floor. Ambulance comes, you know, so the EMTs are trying to talk to me and they're just like, oh, does this happen often? Is she diabetic? And even then, basically throughout that ER visit, they couldn't figure it out. Mind you, anytime I got onto the ambulance, I would basically, that's when I would like fall asleep, and I would just kind of like wake up in the hospital. And in the hospital, I would just be sleeping. Like, after one of these episodes happened, I was knocked out. Mind you, this happened in the morning, like I said, so I was already well rested, but I would just feel completely like I just have to knock out, and I would just knock out for hours, like I hadn't slept at all. Now let's fast forward to whichever next ER visit I had. When it happened on this other occasion at the ER, when they're finally like coming up with their diagnosis, you know, before they like let you leave. This time now, they had seen that it was probably like 3 days later, or like 2 days later, I was back in the ER. So now the doctor, he's telling me your thyroid looks completely fine, because I was telling him like how I usually have hypothyroidism. That's when you have an underactive thyroid, which can cause fatigue. You know, he was just like, your thyroid looks perfect. Like, not just fine, but it looks perfect. I really suggest you see a neurologist. That was the first time I heard of that. So when I did see a neurologist, first thing she asked me about was obviously my episodes and how everything happened. And I told her, at first I get extremely hot. This wave of heat just rises through me. It just feels like I'm on fire. That's the first thing. I just get so hot that all I want is ice water, but I really just want ice. I want ice immediately, and I need to put it on me. I need to like eat the ice, like anything. I just need ice. Next, I feel extremely weak. The heat kind of like, I don't know if it dies down or if my body just moves on to something else, but all of a sudden I'm extremely weak to the point where even if I'm sitting down, I feel like I'm not down enough. Like I feel like I need to be in the floor. And you know, at this point, she's kind of like finishing my sentences. That alone felt really good just to feel understood. And then she asked me, is there a specific side that you lay your head down? And I'm just like, yeah, I always lay my head down on my left side. So once I lay myself down, like sometimes my body would stiffen up. Literally just wouldn't be able to move. You know, she hears everything obviously and she's like, yeah, you're having seizures. And I was just like, but that, you know, I'm used to, obviously most people know seizures to be like foaming at the mouth, whatever the case, having some kind of convulsion. And she's like, no, you're having something called a complex partial seizure and we got to figure out why you're having them. So this is October, like I said, those episodes would happen more often. Mind you, I'm still trying to drive Lyft. I'm still trying to make ends meet. This is honestly one of the hardest times I've had for sure. Such a super low point of my life, let me tell you. It's October. I decided to be off from work, so I started to put in for an extended sick leave. It is now September 2019. I've been off of work since October 2018. I was just like, yo, I can't do this, because what started happening is it started happening at school. Thankfully, it normally just happened when I was on break. A lot of students really liked me and I loved them. Sometimes we would have they would still be in my room during my lunchtime and stuff and break time. But one time I just got super hot and I'm already sitting down and I'm just trying so hard not to feel faint, not to move. And I had to ask one of my students for they had like a fountain drink or whatever. I was just like, please let me have that. I need to put it on my head. And it got to a point where I started leaving water bottles in my coworker's a mini freezer thing, so I could already have them cold. And sometimes I would send a kid to go down the hall and get it for me because it was getting that bad. So I no longer wanted to obviously have that happen at work. I didn't want to scare my kids. I didn't want to feel that way in front of them. And honestly, it just was bad in general. So that's why I put in for the sick leave. At this point, anytime I had one, it would take me at least 3 to 4 days to recover from it. Now when I say recover, I mean like literally I would be in bed. I would be in bed, unable to move for like 3 days. Like it was insane. So in terms of seeing my neurologist, I did so many different tests. An epilepsy test, so like lights, I did that. I did a test where you put all the leads on your head and they monitor your brain activity. I did a 30-minute one. I think it's the EEG. I did a 30-minute one and then I did a take-home one, so like a 3-day one where it's on my head and I have to walk around with the pack and look crazy. And I have a picture of that. I'm not sure if I want to put that up, but maybe I'll cover my face. So long story short, I'm going through all this going through having seizures, being unhappy with myself, let's put it that way, financial struggles. Also, what started to happen was I started to hear word that my class might be canceled. So they were thinking about canceling TV production, which they have. Having that worry of my lack of job security and then like not being at my prime health to do anything about it. It was honestly, it was just so much stuff. By December, my relationship was over. I had moved, changed apartments because the lease was ending anyway. Was still on sick leave, still had no diagnosis what was actually going on with my seizures in terms of what was causing it. Unhappy with myself, so just mentally down. Going through the breakup itself, having to get used to a new space. I wasn't able to be with my family on Christmas. I had to make that sacrifice. My parents had to come down and help me move. Just all these different things. So come January now, I had changed places, so that was good. I started to feel somewhat upbeat, but then what started coming into play is, so I live in a townhouse and one of the townhouses on my row got shot up. Go f***ing figure. When that happened, I no longer felt secure, obviously, in the area. That set my anxiety on a whole other level. Another thing that started to happen in terms of these seizures, anytime I would get hot, I automatically started panicking because now I'm thinking, oh my God, am I about to have a seizure? What's about to happen to me? And I start having an anxiety attack that sometimes could mimic a whole seizure. So that happened in December at least once, and then it just carried on. So I was just really, really anxious. And then when the shooting happened, it just made me even more anxious. I didn't want to be on the first level of my house anymore. I was just really in a bad space. I'd been living with my ex for 2 years and we had been together for like 3.5, and I was accustomed to having him around. I don't know if it sounds cliche to say, but like not having a male around after having been used to it and still continuing to go through all these negative things, it made me super uneasy. I can't even tell you. So at some point of January, I finally went back home. I think the easiest way to explain everything is just I was really lost. Don't get me wrong, there's still things that I'm figuring out, but I was extremely lost. You gotta really be wary of who you let in when you're feeling that low. When you're in that vulnerable state, you're just desperate because you just need some kind of person there. You don't care what kind of attention they're giving you. You just want that attention, that affection. And I let a lot of people into my life, whether it's friend-wise, you know, anytime I started to date, they were all just like, I mean, I constantly put myself in situations with people that did not deserve to be in my space. And like I said, that just goes across the board, friendships, whatever. I just kept giving people that chance. I was naive without realizing it because I really just thought, this is what I need. I need human interaction. I was so used to being so closed up for so long that I was just like, no, this is better because now I'm social. Like, that's a sign of me being like feeling better, if that makes sense. Anyway, it wasn't. To this day, in terms of having seizures, they have stopped. Thank God. Like, that was a really hard time for me because it's just so unpredictable. And the conclusion that my neurologist came to was, you know, she just said, because there was an appointment that I had. I was in the room with an assistant or something. There were just some things I was supposed to get done that I hadn't gotten done that I forgot about. So like, he's just like, have you gone to get this MRI? Have you gone to do this? Have you gone to do that? And I just kept saying no. It got to a point where he just said, he's like, well, why haven't you? And he just came off like really rude, honestly. It wasn't even like I had an attitude. Like, I was literally just like, no, I didn't do it. No, I didn't do that. It just kind of just came off like, well, why haven't you? Like, if you know you have to do it in order to get better, then why haven't you done it? And I started feeling really uncomfortable because you gotta understand, at that point of time, it's not that I didn't have a desire to get better. It's I had nothing going for me. I had no structure left. Like, everything had changed in my life so fast that I literally just felt like I had no support system. It got to the point where I was just like, fuck it, why am I even here? Like, I just got so anxious. While I'm going through my stuff, you know, so many different things I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember to pay bills, what needs to be done, and all the paperwork that I gotta fill out, trying to keep track of everything. I had already fell behind financially. So like, him putting it on me that I'm falling behind everywhere else, it was just no good. I remember I asked him to use the bathroom and I just left. I just left the office completely. So my doctor had actually called me, like she just personally called me, and she was like, how have you been doing? What's going on? And I was just like, yeah, you know, I just felt really anxious. And I was crying and I was just like, you know, I know there's a lot of things I haven't done. I'm trying. I can't remember everything. That was another issue I was having. I literally just couldn't remember. I should have mentioned that, but I forgot. My memory loss was like insane. There's still so many things from that time period that I just don't remember. Like, I just felt like a zombie. Like, I was barely living. Like, I was just doing things to get by. She just let me speak to her, and then she realized how stressed out I was. She saw that I was trying to do everything for everyone and barely just making it for myself. After all the tests I did, she was like, you know, I don't normally hop to this conclusion, but we've done all these tests and I feel comfortable saying that I think your seizures are stress induced. You have been going through an extreme amount of stress in a very short amount of time. Financial stress alone is a lot for a person, let alone all this other stuff that you've been going through. Because also, to add things on, man, I don't even want to talk about it. I'm just gonna mention it. Basically, I had a miscarriage and I knew I was pregnant from jump. I had pregnancy appointments and everything. I was pregnant and happy. It wasn't even like I was using the child as my gateway to happiness. I just felt like, wow, it's not a great time, but it's okay. I didn't have it in me to get an abortion or anything like that, so I knew I was keeping the child. When I miscarried, it was like, I thought I had already been at rock bottom. That brought me all the way the hell down. It just set me off the edge, and on top of that, I had a natural miscarriage. So even though I had went to the ER for everything, they were just like, seems like you're just gonna have to miscarry at home. Man, that was like the worst experience of my life. I was bleeding for a whole month, like literally 4 weeks straight to completely miscarry. I saw my actual GYN throughout the process to monitor everything until everything was finally, like, to make sure nothing was left. And then I was still trying to figure out when I was gonna go back to work. I had never thought I was gonna just keep putting in sick leave like all for the entire school year. I say that to say it was just a bad time. Fast forward to June, I started going through a different health issue that's ongoing kind of, and that is cervical dysplasia. I'm gonna make a separate video about that because I know that video is gonna be very long. It's a lot I have to say about it. So just to do a quick explanation in this video, cervical dysplasia is basically when you have abnormal cell growth in your cervix, which is, you know, in between the vagina and the uterus. It's basically known as like a pre-cervical cancer disease. Cervical dysplasia comes in stages 1, 2, and 3. It's also called CIN. So I have CIN 3, and then you know you have cervical cancer stages 0 through 4. I'm not wishing cervical cancer on myself, but that's just like how it progresses. This past year alone was just non-stop for me. You think you have everything figured out until all your beliefs are just shot down. I was in a relationship and I really believed that I was gonna marry this person, and that belief was shot down. I really believed that I was gonna have this job, and you know, by the end of the school year my class was canceled, so I knew I wasn't gonna go back to the school. And mind you, I moved to Maryland to teach at this specific school. I didn't move to Maryland first and then get a job. I got the job and then I moved to Maryland. I didn't go to school to be a teacher or anything like that. I just went through this path and I was just like, yeah, if I'm gonna teach, it'll be there. Career wise, I'm like in limbo. Relationship wise, financial, health wise, where I'm living, and things have gotten better because I've mentally and emotionally have come a long way into just being more realistic and just more honest with the struggles that I'm going through, and know when I'm not okay and how to help myself through it, and to be more conscientious of the energy I allow around me. I just had to be more mindful of my needs, just more conscious of my intuition, which is that part I'm still working on. For the longest time it just felt like my original intuition, if that makes sense, was no longer an option. I'm gonna actually make a separate video in terms of like career changes and stuff. I'm still employed. I'm on sick leave but not for much longer. I don't intend to be on sick leave for much longer. I feel like I'm starting to finally be in a better space now that the bulk of what I was going through with my cervical dysplasia is gone. I'm just redefining who I am in a way, and I feel more comfortable being on camera now because I'm not so feeling like shit. I just feel better. I have to say I do feel better. I am going through a different health issue, so there is still that. And my lease is over in December, so I don't know if I want to stay here. Like I said, I only moved to Maryland for the job, and then I stayed for the guy. That's something I had to realize, like, wow, Allison, you can leave. You can leave Maryland if you want to. I never saw myself staying here for so long. It's been 5 years. And I never envisioned that for myself. Like, I just knew I wasn't gonna do it for 10 years, let alone 20. So it's been 5. And you know, that's something that I'm thinking about. Instead of seeing it as a negative thing, like all these things are missing, I now take it more positively, like, okay, all these options are open. This is my time to like literally rewrite everything, rewrite my whole story. So yeah, I mean, if you have any questions for me, definitely feel free to comment down below or just welcome me back. And what you can expect from me is definitely uploading at least twice a week. My goal is way higher than that, so I'm gonna just verbally say at least twice a week is what you can expect. I'm definitely back, and I'm back for good. I completely forgot to address the name change. In some video I've discussed my name before, but long story short, I am a writer. I always had the mindset of I know I want to be an author, and my birth name has always been taken as an author. So my name is Allison White, and my name has always been taken. I came up with a pseudonym, which was Sylvia Raj. I just feel like it's not who I am anymore. I made that name out of surnames in my family. De Silva, I turned that into Sylvia, and then there's an Indian surname in my family, but I chose Raj because that went closer with the meaning of my actual name. But I still wanted it to be an Indian surname because of my family history. I just felt disconnected from the name, so I changed it to Allie L. So my name's Allison Elizabeth. Allison Elizabeth is just too long, so I just said Allie L. Yeah, so sorry I'm just not mentioning that at the end of the video. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next one. Deuces.